On Peter King's Monday Morning Quarterback in America, I seen that you ranked your top 5 quarterbacks coming into the draft this year. You had number 1, Bryce Young, which seems to be what everybody's talking about. This guy is one of one. He is the Steph Curry of football. Even the people that had doubts early in the draft process started watching his film. They heard about his brain score at the combine, everything else. They're like, this dude is the clear-cut best guy in the draft. He's going 1 to Carolina. Congrats to Frank and Josh and Dalton and Tepper and everybody down there. They got a guy, it appears. At number 2 overall quarterback, Dan Orlovsky says, not what you're thinking. Ooh. You go with Anthony Richardson. What do you mean by that? Is this projecting like 10 years from now? Who's going to be the best quarterback in the NFL? Is it at this exact moment if you have to play next year? What are your thoughts behind that? Because obviously the C.J. Stroud folks are going to say, what are we talking about? The guy played in the Big Ten against Georgia. Look what he did. Look at all these games. C.J. Stroud throws a beautiful ball. How are we putting Anthony Richardson over top of him? What would you say to that? I'm excited to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, putting Anthony at 2 is a little bit of a flop for me, or a flip to what kind of the initial ranking or thought that I had about a month ago. CJ was 2, Anthony was 3, and Will was 4, and then I've switched 2 and 3. The reason is very much so a projection. I'll say this, like I'll start it with Bryce Young at 1. I don't need to tell everybody how great he is. I do think a point to make about Bryce is this. Everyone talks about the size concerns. If you watch him play, it's almost like watching, like Floyd Mayweather with his size. He does a great job of avoiding contact and avoiding
he fights in
hits.
weight classes, but
and like the last 3 quarterbacks, or the last 2 quarterbacks that we've seen have their careers derailed because of injury are Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton. Those dudes are mountain men. So they're like, it's not just a given that he's going to get hurt. The reason why I put Anthony at 2, I can only go off of tape. I don't get to sit down with these guys. Like if you told me Anthony Richardson had 50%, I was talking with Daniel Jeremiah about this yesterday. If you told me he had 50% of the work ethic that Jalen Hurts does, I would pick him number 1. You are banking on the physical traits that are incredibly unique, that we just don't get the combination in the NFL of that big, that athletic, and that natural of a thrower. You usually can find guys that are like 2 out of 3. Now, by all reports, you hear that he's very intelligent and has a really good work ethic. Again, I don't get to sit with these guys and figure that out myself. But because of the physical talent that he has and the I guess the reports or the rumors or the stories that you hear of how smart he is and how hard he works, that's why I put him at 2 and CJ sits at 3.
With old Steichen being the offense coordinator here in Indianapolis, with what he was able to do with Jalen Hurts just a few moments ago, and obviously Jalen, to your point, work ethic, leadership, everything about him exudes NFL superstar. That's why he just got the deal that he got, and the Eagles are lucky that they have him and they found him in the second round. But it's hard not to just be like, well, I think he's taller than Jalen. I think he's heavier than Jalen. Okay. I think he's faster than Jalen. And he seems like he can spin the ball. I mean,
he's a more natural thrower.
Seems like he can spin it.
Sure.
Although Jalen got really good at that. It's like as I was coming to grips with CJ not being available at 4, Bryce not being available at 4, it was like, as a Colts fan, who would I want to have? I almost immediately said, give me the guy that they've never seen before. Give me the Anthony Richardson. But everybody's talking about this guy. Ty, go ahead, pal.
Yeah, Dano, last time you were on here, I asked you about Will Levis, and I didn't know why, but it kind of, like, I was getting Jake Locker vibes from him, and you said it was more so you thought Jake Cutler. But for whatever reason, at the start of, like, the draft process, he was kind of, like maybe 4th or 5th quarterback on everyone's board, and then now the closer we get to it, he's kind of creeping up. And I know it's pure conjecture, but we've heard he could go 2. Like, the Colts allegedly love him, and he won't go past 4. Like, do you think it's more likely that he goes in the top 5, or he ends up slipping towards, like, 20?
I think it's more likely he goes in the top 5 than he slips all the way to 20. His physical talent is very impressive. I think, Tyler, the reality is this. He is the most difficult evaluation out of the quarterbacks this year because the talent doesn't match the tape. He's as, like, if you just took the talent and you wanted to go on paper and check boxes for guys, He checks every single box. He's big.
Right.
He's got a powerful arm. He's got a tight release.
Right.
He's an athletic guy.
Right.
He's tough. He stands in the pocket. He makes very difficult throws.
Right.
He played his best football on third downs last year.
I like that.
Wow.
But he's a tough evaluation because everything around him stunk. His offensive line was bad. No one got open. So there's stretches of games you sit there, and that's why the point is being like, I think it's really difficult to draft these guys if you're inside of a building. It's such a difficult position to evaluate. For people like me on the outside, it's even harder because, like, I would love to sit with Will and I would love to play clips and be like, what were you thinking here? Why did you throw this in route so hard? And then after the ball hits the ground, I see you get animated towards a receiver like he ran the wrong route. But that's why these teams might be sitting with him and go, oh, we see it the same way as this guy. Like his receiver is wrong. You know, and I think you know, like with if we had to pick the 7 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, just you would say Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, like the younger guys. I'm not putting Aaron into this conversation because like the future, Herbert. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts,
Herbert,
Mac Jones.
Yeah, you would look at these guys and they're all physically talented. Like they're all really physically talented. I think Will's probably too physically talented to fall to 20.
Okay, but like 15 maybe. I think what Ty was trying to say, like, can you see him
20.
potentially, because he's being projected like, hey, somebody's going to go up and get him. I don't know. I'm intrigued by it because what you said, I mean, I've seen some throws, though, out of him that are fucking great.
Yeah.
Then you see some other things that happen. It's like, well, I don't want that guy.
But I think some of his decision-making, Pat, like, I think some of his – the big knock on him that everyone has said is you don't like his decision-making. I understand that, but, like, I think a lot of decision-making was circumstantial.
Can he move?
Oh, we're down.
Can he move?
Yeah, but he was hurt this year. Like, if you go back to 2021, he moved way better than he did in 2022. Here's my – no, because I see you getting, like, putting your head down. This is what I like. You have a really talented young player, right? He's 22 or 23 years old, and everyone says he's got a tremendous work ethic. So then why do we really think that a guy that's really talented and has a really good work ethic all of a sudden can't play? Like that his 2021 performance, there's this individual drop-off to 2022? Or are there variables like, hey, man, they stunk on the offensive line. His offensive coordinator left. I would bet there's not a single skill position player on that offense that's going to play in the NFL, and he was hurt.
Yeah, you're right. And he's jock, so you know he's a hard worker. Like, he's very disciplined. You can tell that. He's very yoked up, so he works hard. It's not easy to get there. I'm cool with whoever, but it sounds like C.J. Stroud might be available for, and that's okay with me as well. AJ has a question for you, Dano.
Dan, how much do you put into these cognitive tests that these guys are taking, especially the quarterbacks, in these new tests? Have you gotten to take one yourself and evaluate them?
No, I have not taken one myself. I've had some conversations with people who know a lot more about it than I do. You know, it's interesting because you hear some of the scores and like it confuses you, to be honest with you, because you sit there and go, you have to like, it makes you check yourself a little bit. It starts to create doubt in what you're seeing on tape because you go, well, this player's tape is so impressive when it comes to the mental performance or the mental kind of necessities that are on display. And then the score comes out or you hear about the score and you're like, man, those two things don't match up. Am I not seeing it? Is it more because this player's system is so friendly or because this player's surrounding cast is so dominant? That's why it looks the way it does? So I think at the end of the day, for me, AJ, like I hear about the scores, I hear about the tests. I think a lot of the testing has come from baseball in many regards. I think it's bigger in the MLB than it is in the NFL, and more teams in the NFL are adopting to it.
Is this the Goldman
and I think I just have to continue to trust my eyes when I watch tape and realize I'm on the outside.
Just give me the Wonderlic and rock, paper, scissors. That's it. And then let me see what a guy's got. How'd you do on the Wonderlic? Pretty good?
I scored a 36, I think, 36, 37.
That's why I think I was in that area. Maybe 38.
Pretty good, guys. Nice.
Maybe 39, maybe. I know it wasn't 40.
Around there, though.
I think the thing, too, is I think this test the new tests, I believe, measure in some ways like personality. I don't believe the Wonderlic did. I think that was more just like an intellect thing.
Yeah, but like also, what if somebody's giving like a hilarious answer in their eyes? You know, like there's so many different ways. You have no idea what you're getting until the person gets there, which is why the draft is such a joke. Do you think there's an accurate way to figure out whether or not a guy's going to be a guy or a shitbird?
I think you have a pretty good feel about guys like that. If you watch them interact with their teammates, if you watch them you hear stories about how they carry themselves, like I think you've got a pretty good feel of, yes, I'm sure there's some gray area on some situations. Like you've been in locker rooms, we've been in locker rooms. You got a pretty good feel for like, that dude's a dude, or like, nope, I can't be around that guy. There's some issues that he's going to have to get worked out and worked through. So
yeah, a lot of shit bums slip through the pipes. I mean, that is something that happens, and it's like you got no shot.
I think every coach thinks that they can coach a guy out of a certain personality trait, or they sit there and say, man, all these attributes and characteristics that he has are what we need, but there's this kind of red flag, so to speak. Well, we can help him work through that red flag, and some guys do, some guys don't.
Love it. Love everything about it. We're talking to Dan Orlovsky.
You get a quarterback that can control the game, create explosive plays, which is a really good defense. Like here, if you're Houston and you pass on a quarterback this year and you go 4-13 this season and you have the number 3 pick, you ain't getting Caleb and you're not getting Drake May. So then where are you next year at that position?
Well, you might be able to package that and go up, especially if they trade out and get some picks. You don't think?
Dude, you aren't going up to 1 and 2 with those 2 kids next year.
Everybody says they're the guys, huh? These 2 guys are the guys. That's what everybody's saying. Why is that? They're just better than everybody?
They're super outrageously talented.
Fuck Utah kid that guy is going to be an NFL guy.
I'm not ready to say that the Utah kid. Yeah.
No, fuck Utah kid.
On the fingernails.
On the fingernails.
Caleb.
You remember?
Caleb. Yeah. Caleb. I'm telling you, Drake and Caleb will go 1-2 next year.
Yeah, I understand that, but you're acting like, man, nobody's going to be able to get up there to get him. If you get 1 or 2, you're going to be locked in with that. You're acting like Caleb, the guy that had fuck Utah on his hands. This dude is going to be a guy?
Yes.
That's awesome to hear. Good for him. I guess I'd be fuck Utah there too. Right. Just do whatever the hell you need to do if you're going to be that's how everybody's talking about next draft class. If you need a quarterback now and you're not in like at 4, you're going to want to get to 1 or 2 next year because Drake May and that's how everybody's talking.
Said that last year.
Why is that?
It's going to be so expensive to go up to 1 and 2 next year.
They have 2 first-round picks next year too.
Yeah. What if the Panthers are at 1 or 2?
Yeah, they just got a quarterback.
Then what?
They won't be.
Okay.
Oh, Bryce Young's going to have success. You think Frank Reich's going to be able to do it?
Yeah, they'll be good. Their defense is really good, really talented. They'll be good next year. They'll be solid.
What if Bryce Young can't see over the O-line? What if that happens? What if he just can't do it? What if it's just impossible?
He did it a ton in college. He threw over the middle of the field a ton in college. A ton.
All right, so I'm just
no dude in college football none of the top 5 guys this year, Bryce, CJ, Anthony, Will, and Hendon, threw with more guys in their lap than Bryce Young did.
Really?
Accurately. Absolutely. Alabama was not the Alabama offensive line. No guy threw with either a defender hitting him or his offensive line getting pressed into his lap more than Bryce Young.
I can't wait to watch Bryce Young coming in, Anthony Richardson developing, Caleb Williams, Drake May.
How about it?
Huh? Maybe Will Levis got a cannon.
Right, here we go.
Hendon Hooker potentially, Tone.
Yeah, Dano. Strager came out with his first mock draft today.
Yeah,
he was the most accurate last year. Hendon Hooker, he had going 11 to the Titans, ahead of Will Levis at 12 to the Texans. Where do you have Hendon? How do you feel about him? How do you feel about where he lands?
Yeah. I love Strager. I love his mock drafts. I was texting about him last night. So I called a couple of Hendon games. I called Hendon at Virginia Tech. I called Hendon a game at Tennessee. I think the things you like about Hooker, 1, maturity, 2, the adversity he's faced, 3, I think he's a very natural touch thrower that can drive the football. I don't think he's got this big, powerful arm. He's a touch thrower, which is a difficult skill to acquire, but he can drive the football. He was forced to think really fast this year, like really fast. They were snapping the ball. Pat, you called some of their games down at game day, like
hypo, quick. Yeah, quick.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're forced to think quickly. The two kind of he's going to be 27 before he really steps onto the field in the NFL because of the ACL injury. So I think he's 25 or 26 now. He'll be probably right around 27. You don't know how much volume he had to handle at Tennessee. You know he had to think quickly. You just don't know how much volume. Like a lot of tempo offenses, you're getting to the line of scrimmage and you're just going. And I've asked some of these college guys when you're playing this tempo, like, what happens if you get to the line of scrimmage and you've misdiagnosed something? They're like, just play fast. So I think you got to figure that out with him. And there's a reality that his offense created a lot of open people and easy reads and easy throws. That's just the truth. And you got to see how much of that you want to knock him for.
Wasn't that a bunch of option routes, though, out there? It was a bunch of option routes in that offense. So, he has to kind of piece through some things, see some things. And he beat Bama.
That's right.
Yeah.
He beat Bama.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Beat Bama. Damn.
Go to Johnny Manziel.
Oh.
We actually have something.
No shot to Johnny.
Well, certainly,
that was.
certainly was a shot at Johnny, but
No.
that won't be the last one leading up to draft. We have an entire piece we're putting together about these first round quarterbacks and how expectations should actually be about what a lot of these guys are going to suck, Dan. A lot of these guys are going to suck bad at football.
Yeah. I think I say this every year. How many great quarterbacks do we have in the league? Great. I don't know, 7, 8, like great quarterbacks. And then there's that group of another 8 or 10 that are a little bit more dependent upon what's around them. Coach, play callers, skill position, offensive line. We're projecting 4 or 5 in the first round. They're not all 4 or 5 are going to be good. Hopefully one's going to be really good and 2 are good players. So, where they go, who they're coached by, the health. I mean, it's the dependent position. I think, Bryce went to Alabama. CJ went to Ohio State. Anthony Richardson went to Florida. Levis went to Penn State. Like, they're super talented guys. There's a reason why they're going to get drafted. They are crazy talented.
Florida is not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Florida lately.
No, they stunk this year on offense, but when Anthony went there, they were in the SEC title game.
Oh, okay. You're saying he has experienced it. It is still Florida. Have to be good to get into Florida. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to big time schools. Like
That's not like
these dudes are,
UConn.
nah.